You've used this word pulsing before. You believe that the body should go through cycles of stress and recovery rather than receiving constant daily inputs. When you say pulsing, what do you mean? Give me an example of pulsing and why I need to do that.
Well, there's a few examples. The first time I came across this result as a scientist was resveratrol. So resveratrol is found in red wine, among other things, and it's thought to give the health benefits of red wine. And we fed it to mice, fat mice, skinny mice, old mice, and it worked very well in the fat mice. It made them thinner. It made them live longer. It cured most of their diseases. They lived about, I think it was 15, 20% longer. Then we gave it to normal mice every day. And they lived a little bit longer, but not significantly.
Resveratrol.
What we found, to my surprise, was when we gave old mice resveratrol, not every day, but every second day, then they lived significantly longer. So then I thought, well, maybe giving them a foreign substance every day is not good. Maybe there's some side effect that's counteracting the benefit. The other thing I want to mention, I said there's a few examples. Another good one is metformin. Metformin has been shown to make athletes and bodybuilders and people who go to the gym, weightlifters, do less repetitions. And as a result, their muscles are about 5% less compared to those that don't take metformin in size. I don't think it's molecular. I think it's because you feel a little bit weaker with metformin because it's actually interfering with your body's ability to make energy through mitochondria. Mitochondria, I think most people have heard of the little power packs living in our cells, originally bacteria that came into our bodies. The point is that by pulsing metformin, I think that's a better way to do it for longevity.
You mean cycling it? So like doing it every other day or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if I take metformin or the natural equivalent, which is berberine, if you don't want to take the drug, you can take berberine. That also activates this AMPK, this other sirtuin-like pathway. Taking it every other day, I think, is better. And particularly if you like to work out, don't take the metformin a few hours before you work out. Take it after, or maybe skip it that day. I think that's a better approach.
We talked about exercise earlier. On page 102 of your book, you talk about how there's a CDC-funded study that found people who exercise regularly, about 30 minutes of jogging 5 days a week, have telomeres that look 10 years younger than sedentary people that just sit around all day and don't do much exercise, which is pretty remarkable. How do we know it's the exercise and not something else? Like, how are we able to establish causation there?
Yeah, we don't. Unfortunately, all of these association studies just lead to a need to do placebo-controlled or at least controlled trials in people. So we don't know for sure, speaking like a scientist. But there have been studies where people are told to do exercise and those that are told to sit. And then you can compare telomere length, and that has been shown. So that's a much better evidence of causation. But you're right, when you see an association, it could be that people who do exercise also eat well and drink matcha.
Sleep better.
Exactly. So you have to be careful interpreting these association studies always. But when you've got a placebo-controlled trial or these studies that are called prospective, not retrospective studies, then they're better. So telomeres are the ends of chromosomes that get shortened as you get older. We used to use them really as a good indicator of age, biological age. Now we use the epigenome, and the DNA methylation chemicals as a better clock.
And then cold plunges and saunas.
Yeah, let's get to those.
I've got a sauna in the house, but I never use it, to be honest.
You should.
But if you tell me I should,
maybe
I'll give it a shot.
We should actually jump in there after this.
Well, your girlfriend's still here, David Sinclair.
She can come too. Okay. So saunas are, in my mind, it's not even a question. They are proven to be beneficial for multiple reasons: heart disease and even long-term mortality.
What's going on in the sauna, in the heat?
Anyone who says they know is lying. We don't know. But one theory that I like, and it also goes back to yeast cells, there are what are called heat shock proteins that come on and defend the cell when the cell senses heat. And it may be that these heat shock defense proteins called HSPs come on when we breathe in this moist, hot air. The moisture actually seems to help as well. And in many studies, mostly on Finnish men, businessmen, those that go into their home saunas, and the majority of homes in Finland do have saunas, so they can do these studies pretty easily. The bottom line is that those that didn't do regular quote-unquote sauna bathing tended to die earlier, in particular from heart disease and cardiovascular events, than those that did regular sauna bathing. So I'm a big advocate of sauna. I don't have one in my house, but I do have a really hot steam shower, which I use regularly every day.
And is there a difference between the steam room and the sauna in terms of the impact here?
I think a sauna is better because it gets hotter. Yeah, and I would have a sauna if I had my choice.
And the cold plunge?
Not a lot of data. There's a lot of theory that, again, hormesis, adversity, feeling better. There's some evidence that it can actually help with muscle repair after workouts, but I think we need a lot more research in that regard. But then, nevertheless, I used to do it before I was so busy and traveling the world, and I certainly feel better. So even if I didn't live longer because of it, I definitely had more mental clarity and I felt better in general.
But if you were prioritizing all of the things we've talked about so far, and you had to pick one.
Do I have to pick one? Because you need more than one.
But just in terms of like the most important one, that's maybe the first domino.
Yeah. I would say that a combination of what the easiest, biggest impact you can have, combine that would be skipping meals.
Skipping meals.
And then a close second would be exercise that includes losing your breath for at least 5 minutes, 3 times a week. So what do I mean by losing your breath for 5 minutes? When you couldn't carry out a conversation easily, that you're panting. If you're not panting and you're just lifting weights, that's not going to have the kind of benefit.
Why?
We don't know. But it's been shown that the health benefits and those that live long tend to do a lot more aerobic exercise, not just weights. But both are important for mobility, strength, falling in older age, and hormones like testosterone.
Red light therapy, the red light masks.
Yeah.
Red light saunas.
At first I was skeptical, but I've done the research on the research, and it looks reasonable. I use a red light cap on my head to preserve my hairline. And there's some now good evidence that the mitochondria, which are the power packs and a lot of good things come from mitochondria, they actually are either rejuvenated or enhanced by this certain wavelengths of red light. You have to get the wavelength right, but it's not BS. It sounds like BS, right? You shine light on your skin and it gets better, or you get your hair. But I think that there's good evidence now that it's not BS.
And in terms of the supplement stack that you take every day, if I was to look at on a great week where you just did everything right, what would your supplement stack look like? And I know this evolves over time, so I'm very keen to hear what it is right now.
Yeah. Well, that would be another podcast to go through each one of the things.
Really?
And well, I travel with Serena with a little case.
Have you got it?
I've got it here.
Can I see it?
Well, no, it's not in the studio.
Oh, okay.
I didn't bring it with me.
Can you send me a photo?
Sure. I couldn't publicly share it because it would be posted all over the internet. Things would go crazy. But I can tell you the main things.
Why would it go crazy on the internet? What do you think? Because there's a lot in there?
Well, some of the things are experimental, and I wouldn't want people to go nuts about it because it's still experimental. I'm okay experimenting on myself. I'm not okay advocating for things that are not yet proven or known to be absolutely safe.
Okay, so give me the ones that you know to be safe.
Well, the NMN we've covered, resveratrol, and either metformin or berberine.
Yeah.
Okay. Spermidine.
Spermidine?
Yeah, and the quantities are either on the screen or in my book if you want to know exactly.
Is that what it sounds like?
Yes. Yes, but you get it these days not from sperm or semen, but you get it from wheat germ typically, plants.
It used to come from sperm?
Well, that's how it was discovered. It was crystallized by, I believe, Anthony von Leeuwenhoek, one of the first microscopists and microbiologists. Spermidine, the reason that I take it is that it extends the lifespan of every animal that it's been given to, from worms to mice. And it's a very safe molecule. So that I always weigh up the downsides versus the upsides. And if there's no downsides and I can afford it, which, I work really hard so I can afford it, and I prioritize my health, then I take it. And if you're wondering how it works, it seems to stimulate autophagy, recycling of proteins. It helps with the fasting. But I also have some evidence that it delays the epigenetic information loss. So it's slowing down the scratching of the record.
Spermidine.
All right. So I'm also keen on glycine. Glycine is a very safe substance. It's an amino acid, one of the 20 amino acids that makes proteins. And I actually did a PhD on glycine. I was one of the first people perhaps the first person to clone genes that process glycine. So I know it well. For some reason, when you give animals, and for instance, mice, grams of glycine, so I take about 5 grams of glycine most days, they live longer. Though it's still speculation as to why. What I think is going on is that glycine controls what's called one-carbon metabolism, and not wanting to bore the heck out of everyone who's listening to me, glycine and one-carbon metabolism controls methylation of DNA. Getting back to the little chemicals that are on this DNA molecule that control the information, I wouldn't be surprised if by eating a lot of glycine every day, I'm slowing down this identity crisis, you called it. Nevertheless, it's very safe and again falls into the same category as spermidine. No downside, can afford it, why not?
Is there anything else?
Yeah, there's a lot. Because I love you and your listeners, let's see, I'll reveal one more. There are some basics that I do that are, if you're not doing them, I think is very, very wise. Make sure you're not deficient in vitamin D. Obviously, we just mentioned one of the reasons why. It's also, if you're lacking vitamin D, you can be susceptible to certain cancers. So I take a vitamin D supplement. Serena, actually, I take Serena's supplement because her vitamin D has vitamin K2 as well. And K2 is another vitamin that's important for longevity, I believe, because it keeps calcium out of your arteries, which causes plaque, and tends to make your body put it into where it belongs, which is your bones.
What about aspirin? I read that somewhere.
Yeah, that could be a whole podcast, actually. But briefly, I take a baby aspirin every day, even though some doctors and some institutions of doctors say don't take it anymore, even though it used to be prescribed and recommended. Why? A large study looked at the risks versus benefits. So the known benefits are you inhibit platelets, you get less clotting, you get less potentially stroke and heart attack. But there are also some downsides. In some people, you can have more bleeding in the stomach. And when the Doctors Association weighed up those risks versus benefit, they said, oopsie, we're not going to recommend aspirin anymore. But that's for the average person. Someone like me, I believe it makes perfect sense to take aspirin every day, most days at least when I remember. And that's because I have a high risk of cardiovascular disease. I don't just have high cholesterol naturally, I have high levels of something called Lp(a), capital L-P, parentheses, little a. And this is a molecule that's just as important as cholesterol, LDL. Lp(a) is a protein that inserts itself into cholesterol particles that circulate your blood and helps insert into plaque. So I naturally, genetically, having an ancestry of Judaism, in going back to my great ancestors, which, by the way, I traced back 1,000 years during Christmas, those people that I descended from have this Lp(a) gene that makes a lot of it. And so I try to bring Lp(a) levels down. Most people should test for it. Ask your doctor about Lp(a) and get it tested. High levels, like me, 30, 40, you want to bring it down because it's actually very important for longevity. Normal levels of around 10 or so or less, then a doctor wouldn't panic. So Lp(a), get it tested. The way I'm bringing it down, just a little tidbit, again, because I love you, Stephen, is I'm taking high-dose vitamin B3 or niacin. Now, it can be uncomfortable for some people to take it because it gives flushing. You get little tingling in your skin. And if you're not used to it or you don't take it with an aspirin, you'll feel hot, almost like menopause, apparently. And so I take it, I built up to it. I'm taking half a gram. Some people take a gram. And that's one of the few things that's been known to bring down the levels of Lp(a). There are drugs that are in development, even in phase 3, that look promising, but until they're on the market, I'm taking niacin instead.
What's the best treatment you've discovered for hair loss? Hair loss, hair graying, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So my father went bald before 30, like completely bald, right? And almost completely gray by the time he was 40. So I'm super lucky, right? I thought I'd be bald at 30. I was pretty worried about it. So I've been doing the right things intentionally. So what I do is this red light cap, when I can, I don't travel with it, but when I can, that's for 6 minutes, stick it on there.
Proven? Is there evidence?
Yeah, it's proven. It's proven to slow. It doesn't necessarily give you your hair back. But when it comes to hair loss, don't wait till you see the hair loss. That can be too late. Okay, you're good.
I'm okay.
You're good, but I know a lot of men are concerned. It's understandable. I'm taking a hormone mimetic to stop DHT, which is the form of testosterone that leads to men-related hair loss. Right. So one of the reasons that women don't lose hair as much as men is this DHT. So I'm blocking that.
So let me get that straight. You're not taking testosterone?
No.
Because that's going to accelerate your hair loss.
Well, it can if it raises DHT. The best way to raise testosterone naturally is to build up muscle, especially your legs, your back, big muscles. That's another reason to work out and maintain muscle mass, which I need to do more of. You look like you're in good shape already. But yeah, anyone who is losing testosterone is below a level of about 400. Highly recommend hitting the gym. It'll go back up.
Do you recommend men taking testosterone replacement?
Well, I'm a scientist, so I don't recommend drugs, but I don't think it's necessary for most men. I would start with reducing stress, sleeping well, exercising, building up muscle mass. And then if that doesn't work, talk to your physician. There's not a big downside. There's not a risk of cancer to taking testosterone. One of my good friends has done many clinical trials with testosterone. So I think there's a use for it, but it doesn't lead to longevity. That was very clear. So for health reasons, yes. For longevity, no need.
What are some of the, when I started watching your videos many years ago and listening to your podcast and following you on Twitter, I wondered, there's so much information you can put out there because you're a scientist and scientists are very rigorous, but you also must have a set of really interesting predictions or visions of what the future looks like that you don't probably always talk about because they're not scientific. They're not based on anything. They are maybe first principles in your own mind that are formed where you go, actually, I think the world might look like this and I think it might happen then. I'd love to hear about some of these.
Yeah.
And I understand they're not rigorous and they're not scientific.
I'm happy to. What happens to me, because I'm a scientist, and I'm part of this ivory tower at Harvard where we can only stick to facts, and if you go beyond that, it's a crime. And I've been criticized for that. But I think, as humans, life's interesting when it comes to predicting the future. And like you, I'm very curious, where is humanity headed? I see a future as different from this world as our world is from 200 years ago. And that will happen in our lifetime. Different in that 100 years ago or more, if you had an infected splinter, there's a reasonable chance you could die. Childbirth, you could die. Smallpox. These are things that we don't generally worry about anymore, and the idea would be abhorrent. In the future, hopefully within our lifetimes, there will be a time when we look back at today's medicine when you could go blind and there was nothing you could do. You could break your back and never walk again. We will look back at today and say, how did those people get through life? What a horrible world they lived in. That, I believe, is the future that humanity is headed for, and way faster than most people realize is coming. The kind of breakthroughs that we've discussed today, most people have never heard about. The fact that we are aiming and already do cure blindness in monkeys, like pure blindness. This isn't just, I can't see a little bit. These are completely blind animals, and that they can see again in a matter of 6 weeks. This is remarkable stuff, right? And if it works this year in people, it's going to be a really big deal, because for the first time we'll have shown in humans that the body can be reset safely. And the eye is just the beginning, right? The future looks like we can rejuvenate potentially any tissue. If you have a bad liver, we'll make it young again. Bad brain, you've lost your memory, we'll give you those memories back again. We do this in mice in my lab all the time. It's not even a big deal in my lab anymore to reverse the age of tissues in an animal. in a matter of weeks. That is coming for humanity, hopefully initially this year. But even if that doesn't work, it's only a technical issue. We'll solve that. You might be wondering, how do we get the rejuvenative genes into the body? And what we do is we use a package that is able to get into cells. And this is a package that resembles a virus. It's not a virus. It doesn't cause disease. It's not infectious. But we package our 3 genes inside the virus, virus-like substance, and we close it up. We just made a bunch of this in Europe for the clinical trial that's going to begin. Just making this is difficult. It took us about a year to make it and was about, I think it was $10 million. Right now it's expensive to do this. Eventually it will be cheap, and eventually it will be a cheap pill, hopefully. We have trillions of these molecules, these delivery vehicles that will go, so you can pass me the eye. We're getting back this eye model. These delivery vehicles with our 3 genes will be delivered. Obviously, these are microscopic. They go in through the eye with a quick jab. All right? It sounds horrible, but a quick jab into the eye. If you're blind, who cares?
Yeah.
It's 2 seconds of discomfort. Now you've got the little virus, which I'm going to break off the stand here. The little virus, there's billions of them, trillions of them in the eye. Now they infect specifically the nerves at the back of the eye in the retina.
How do they know what to infect?
Because these little balls on the package direct it specifically by design, by our lab's design, just to those nerves at the back of the eye. If we change these little proteins on the surface, we can send it to the liver or to the brain. This is the zip code, the postcode for where we want to send our 3 genes.
Mm-hmm.
But this one's designed for the eye. It's called an AAV2. Long story short, these are ready to go into humans. We're just waiting for FDA approval to inject it into a blind patient to see what happens.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.